we're going to continue filling in these areas here. So we're going to press tab to go to edit mode. And first, let's just take a quick look at our references. So on this one, you can kind of see that just beyond the light, you kind of have this crease line, not really a crease line, but you can tell that there's more curvature here. And then after this point, it starts to kind of flatten out on the side of the bus, because the side of the bus is pretty flat. So a little bit beyond this light is where the curve starts to end and the flat part starts to begin. So we need more geometry to the right of this light. So what we can do is just alt right click on this part. This of course is the end of the light here. And I just hit 3 to go into side view. And then we can just do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and drag this out a little bit. And I want to have this totally straight on the y-axis, so we're going to do S, Y, and then 0. That's going to flatten it out on the y-axis. And I'm going to do the same with this vertex, just select it, grab it on the y-axis, hold Control, and snap it to these vertices to make it straight. And then we can take these bottom points and angle them down more like this reference. So I'm going to alt right click, and this is that part that has to continue curving until it gets this flatter area. So we can just grab it on this x-axis, hold Control and snap it to one of these points, and that'll make sure that this is a relatively flat surface between here and here. And it also makes sure we still have some curvature from this point to this point. So next, what we want to do is start bringing this up in this direction. So this crease point kind of just continues all the way to the top. So all of this stuff just continues all the way to the top. And even this this line that would be here continues all the way up to the top, even though it's really difficult to see at the top. We're going to ignore this detail for now. This is a little bit more advanced stuff. We're just going to leave that out for now because we can add this in later. But we want to bring the rest of this up to the top. So to do that, we want to make sure we have enough connections so that we can bring all these up. So we're going to need at least 2 loops to bring these 2 up. But I also want to reposition these vertices because I don't think they're in the right place. So we're just going to bring these back on the y-axis, hold Control and snap them here. And we can also go to side view by pressing 3, Z for wireframe, and bring these down. And if you want, you can even do S, Z, and then 0 to make them zeroed on the x-axis, and then snap them again so that they all these points will have the same Z value if you want them to have the same Z value. And then we want to add in 2 connections here and here. So we're going to do Control R, mouse wheel up, left click, right click, and then do 3 for side view, and we want to try to match this curvature. So we're going to alt right click on this one. You can do Z for wireframe if you want and just bring this up. And then alt right click on this one and then bring it up to try to match the curvature better. You could even do G if you want to try to bring it back slightly. And you can do G on this one to reposition it better to try to have better curvature in this area. I think what I want to do actually for these points here, I want to snap them on the z-axis to this bottom point, and then I'll do the same here. I'm going to snap it on the z-axis, and then we'll bring it down so that it's a nicer curve. Essentially, I just want these points curving downward, these points curving downward, so that it matches the curvature of the bus. That's all we're trying to do, instead of having it where these were higher up. It's not the natural curvature of the bus, doesn't go in that direction. So you want your geometry to flow similarly to how the bus is constructed. So now that we have that, we can take these 2 points and these 2 points and press F, and that'll give us our first connection there. And we can take these 2 and these 2, and actually what I'm going to do in this case, well, no, we'll just press F for now, and we'll make that connection. We'll deal with the rest of it later. So there's that connected. And in side view, if we do Alt H to unhide everything, A to deselect, and then Z for wireframe, we want to start lining some of these lines up better. Like this line could be lined up with this line, and this line currently has nothing behind it, and we could bring it up and line it up with this line. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this vertex here and hold Control and then right click on this vertex to select these vertices here, and then we're going to press Q to slide it up until this top point. This will give us a better connection for right here. And then we're going to select this one, hold Control and select this one, do the same thing, press Q and slide these up. So now we have geometry that matches closer to the actual bus itself. And we'll deal with the fact that this curves down. We'll deal with that later. So before we start connecting all this up, we want to start filling in this area too. So we're going to do Control 1 and Z for wireframe. So we're going to take a look at this again. Either one of these will be fine. So we have the bottom of this here, and then a little bit lower we have the top of this. I'm guessing this is another door or something. This probably can open up. That's what this hatch is for, I'm guessing. So a little bit below where the window is, we want another edge loop. So a little bit below this, we're going to want another edge loop. And then there's also this crease line here. And if you look at this picture really closely, you can kind of tell that it's because from here it's fairly straight, and then this part where the door would be kind of goes in more. So that's why that crease line's there, is because this part of the door actually bends forward, and that's why you're getting this little crease effect right here all the way across. So we're going to need a line for that as well as a line for this. But I think this line's actually a little bit too close in terms of proximity. So we're going to make this line a little bit lower than the reference shows. And we're going to add in this other line, which would be the top of that door. This, of course, is the top of our window, or the bottom of our window. And while I'm at it, I can tell these are not equal on the z-axis, so I'm just going to snap it on the z-axis, snap this vertex to make these perfectly straight. So we're going to do Control R, left click and drag this up. This is about the distance between the window and this top of the door thing. You could make it a little smaller if you wanted, just position it as you want by using Q to slide it up or down depending on what you want. Then do Control R again and we'll add another loop cut. Like I said, I'm going to put it a little lower than this line because I think this line may be a little bit off. Just use your best judgment. And then we're going to select these two, E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring them to the center, and then select these four and press F to fill them in. Another thing that I think is a little off if we look at this, so let's take a look at our reference first. It shows that we have this line for the top of this door part, and it shows it exactly in line with this light. But if we look at the picture and we look at the top of the light, this is that door part. It actually ends here. This is the part of the door, and this is the top of the light. If you go across, you can tell that the top of the door is actually slightly lower than the light, and the top of the opening for the door is either in line or slightly higher than the light, and you can check it on this side too. You can tell that something is a little bit off. And same here, you go across and you can tell the top of this door part is actually a little bit lower. So the top of this door part here, we're going to select these three. This needs to be a little bit lower than the light. And then this other part, we can either make it equal or slightly higher than the door, but I just wanted to lower this down so that you would be aware that that is supposed to actually be lower. And now we can press E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring this down, hold Control, and snap it to that point. That'll make it exactly even with the light. So we're just going to leave it like that for now because it's going to be easier on our topology if we just leave it like that. And then we're going to select these four and press F, and that'll give us the area above that door. So we should have this now with the door. And now what we want to do is start filling in some of this area. So we want to try to line some of these other lines up better, like we lined this one up pretty nicely. We want to try to line this line up with this one a bit better. So just select this point and go over to here, hold Control, right click, so you get these 3 points, and then do Q, slide it up until it lines up better with that one. And we're going to select this one, and we want to slide it down so it lines up with this one, so do G twice, and then you can grab it on the Z-axis, hold Control, and snap it perfectly in line with that point. And you can do the same here, just grab it on the Z-axis and snap it, and that will help to correct or make sure that they have the same Z value. So we can select these four and press F, we can select these two and press F, we can select these four and press F. We're going to deal with these connections later, but we're going to select all of these and we'll press F. This is an N-gon right now, but like I said, we'll deal with connecting these across later. And we can do the same thing here, just select all these points and then press F. That will create a face. It's another N-gon, but we'll deal with that in a minute. So now what we want to do is bring some of these across so they can connect in. So we can do K for the knife cut tool, left click, drag it across until this is yellow on this line, and then left click and press enter. That'll bring it across like that. And we can do the same here for this one. K for the knife cut, left click, bring it across, left click again, press enter. For this one on the top, I actually decided I wanted to bevel this a bit more to give it more curvature and to allow us to have a quad at the top. So we're going to select these two, and we're going to do 3 for side view and Z for wireframe, and just do Control B to give it a little bit of a bevel, then left click. Gives us this extra point. We're just gonna select it and hold Shift, select this one, Alt M at last to merge it across. And we also have this extra point here. We're gonna select it, Shift select this one, Alt M at last. And then we're gonna do K, left click, drag it across, left click, press enter. And we're going to select these 3 and press F. Then we're going to select these 2 and press J to join them. Then we're going to go to Edge Select, select this edge, delete, and dissolve edges to get rid of that. So this is now a quad here. And we actually probably want to do G twice with this selected and bring it over a bit more. And we want to select these 2 now and press F to bring this down. And then we can select all of these and press F again. That's going to give us this end gone, which is fine. We'll deal with it later. And then select these 2 and press F. So now we have everything filled in. To fill in this back part, we're going to need another edge loop. So we're going to do Control R, left click, right click. And then we can select these 2 points and then just press F and then F again to fill in that area. You can see the shading's not the best on this part, and the reason for that is if you look at it closely, it caves in here. Because of the way we did this, it all caves in. And we want to start bringing some of these points out. You can snap them on the x-axis to start out with, and then just start giving them a little bit of curvature, and do the same throughout this process here. Just try to give them more curvature than what they had when they started. So I'm just snapping them by grabbing them on the X and then holding Control, and then repositioning them inward more towards the center of the bus, so that it's more of a curved surface and you get a better result, rather than having it go in and then back out like it did. It's more of a gradual curve towards the back of the bus, instead of being, you know, in and then back out the way that it was. That's why we were getting bad shading. So this is going to give us much nicer shading. So this is looking good, so we're just going to save it. We're just going to go to File and Save.